the human soul. Okay? The human soul. What is the human soul? What is the soul? Okay, just remember about this, so these words. That most our spiritual dimension, okay? That by which we are most like the image of God, okay? That by which we are like God, okay? That by which we are most like God, okay? So, by being intelligent, okay, by having a human will, a human being knows that it's not simply matter. So it's so sad and so stupid, which we call foolishness, for a human being to say there is no God, or at least there is no spirit. We are simply matter. You are using the very spiritual principle to deny its existence. It's like, this is water, but I'm not drinking it. Okay? I'm not drinking it, but I'm drinking, but it's not water, I'm not drinking it. So I told you, humans can be so silly. There's a Greek sophist, okay, who, as I told you before, he wrote an essay, a whole essay, to prove that he doesn't exist. Okay?
And he had a PhD.
Yes, he had a PhD in stupidity. Okay? So, whenever we talk about image of God, just to think about in a nutshell, okay? In summary, about just these three things. We are capable of knowing, of loving, because we have a soul. Okay, the image of God. That by which we are most like the image of like God. Okay? And the soul, because it's a spiritual principle, is capable of participating in the spirit. That's the capacity in a human being which makes a human being capable of participating in the spiritual world. Because remember, we are composite beings, okay? We unite the two worlds, the spiritual and the material. Hence, we are capable of participating in the spiritual world. Okay? Because we have a spiritual principle called the soul. So in summary, that's what we mean by the image of God. The image of God is not photographic. Okay? That, I'm looking at my neighbor, so I see the image of God. Okay, that's why I love Pope Benedict. There is a German kind of called, theologian who was arguing about the Pope, about the liturgy. And, he was saying, well, before Vatican II, people faced the wall and whatever, which is crazy to say that they faced the wall. They were facing east. Okay? The sun represents Jesus Christ. I think it's Psalm 95. Okay, Christ is the rising sun. So we go to meet Christ who comes to us to lead us to the Father. That was the concept of churches facing east. Okay? And worshippers also facing east. So priest was not facing the wall. The priest and the people were facing east. Okay? Christ the rising sun coming to meet them. So Pope Benedict was basically writing about that, and then he was saying that even if a priest, turns around, he's not facing the people. Okay? What happened? Let's briefly explain that because of its importance. What happened was that for typological reasons, when they built St. Peter's in Rome, it didn't face east. Okay? Because of the topology of Rome. So the church didn't face east. But the priest had to face east, celebrating Mass. So the priest turned around to face east. Seemingly was now facing the people, but in actual fact it was facing east. So that's how it turned about. So other churches in Rome started copying St. Peter's. Okay? And that's how it happened. Okay?
That's how we do.
Okay? So, but now even if we do this, okay, priests think that the altar is their theater, where they do, some priests, where they do theatricals, okay? So a priest is not facing the people, especially when we celebrate the prayer of the Eucharist. The people and the priest are facing the cross. The altar is the cross. Okay? So I'm not here doing my theatricals for people to see. We had a priest at home in Uganda. He was an ignorant, priest. But when he was celebrating Mass, he would go, and then Jesus our Lord, he was doing all sorts of things. Because it was about him doing his, theatricals, okay? So the Pope told that German theologian, so-called theologian, that because he was arguing that we are the people of God, okay? So when we look at each other, we see the image of God. And Pope Benedict told him, I don't think he was serious about that. You know, as I know, that the image of God is not photographic. Okay? It's not photographic. This is what it is.
Father, does all the priests, does every priest or some priests, they have their own way of doing the consecration, or they do it the same way?
The instructions say the same. There are no different instructions for this particular priest or that particular priest.
Because I have watched the priest, the way they do it. I had watched like 3 or 4, and when they get the chalice, they go like this. When they get they go like this, and then they go like this.
Well, it depends on, but as long as what you're doing is you understand the value, okay, of what you're doing. Because tell me, if you really understand the value of what you're doing, okay, you get at consecration. If I get, do you have something that looks like a host here?
No.
Okay, so if I'm consecrating at Mass, okay, and I say that, I'm holding the bread like this, okay, they just said, this is my body which will be given up for you. Okay, what does that suggest?
You don't
Yeah,
You don't
They're given up
need
for you.
no reverence at all.
There are certain things you can see and realize that a person knows what he's doing or doesn't know what he's doing. You can tell that from our mannerisms. Okay? If I say this is the body of Jesus Christ, and the way, for example, if you're distributing food at home among your family members, what do? How do you distribute food? So sometimes our food is more respected than the Eucharist. If you have bread at home, you go pouring it on the plates of people. You do pour bread. Okay, so the instructions are the same. Okay, for all of us. Okay, so the image of God. So please remember this summary, because sometimes we study many things, okay, but this is the summary of what we are looking at in terms of the image of God. Once you remember these 3, then everything else, falls, okay? So of all visible creatures, only man is able to know and love his Creator. He is the only creature on earth. So, number 1, we explained it. Number 2, he is the only creature on earth that God has willed for its own sake. What does that mean?
He put him in earth, he wants him.
Did he will other creatures for their own sake?
No.
Why not?
He wants him back.
They're for us to enjoy.
What does it mean that he willed us for his own sake? For our own sake? What that means is very, very significant. It means that a human being is never looked at, treated, or defined as an object. Okay? Other things are objects. But a human being is a, what's the opposite of object? That is a very key step, because if we understood that, we wouldn't have all the problems we have. A human being must never be looked at as an object. A human being is a never an object. God willed us for His own sake. Okay? If we understood this, we wouldn't have like things like abortion, things like abuse of the elderly. A human being is willed for their own sake. Which means that if a human being is willed for their own sake, no human being has ownership over another. You can't say it's my body, you can't say it's my slave, you can't say it's my child. A parent doesn't have authority over the life of their child. Because if you say that a person can have authority over life at any point, any stage of life, if a mother wants to pursue, let's say, a career, okay, mother and father, so they decide, let's abort this child because we are not ready at this material time. Okay? Okay? They abort the child, they kill the child. What if they waited, they thought they were ready, and they waited, okay? And then the child comes, the first week, second week, third week, fourth week. The child is crying like crazy, the mother doesn't sleep. And the mother said, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Why can't she decide to kill that child? If she could have killed that child at 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, why can't she do it at 12 months?
Because the police will get her.
She's never got that right.
You see, once you accept something illogical in a particular context, then you must be consistent. So if you accept abortion, why don't you accept infanticide? If a mother and father realize that we didn't really expect this, it's an inconvenience, it's a drag on our lives, why can't they kill that child? So no human being has basically authority over any other, because a human being is willed by God for his or her own sake. So they are not an object. Okay? A human being is not a lifestyle choice, okay? That we choose, to do this kind of choose a lifestyle which is intrinsically unfruitful, but then we want children added to our relationship because we choose to. So human being is no longer a subject, a gift of love, but an object and a lifestyle choice we make. It's like, it's like going shopping for a car. You want a Camaro. These so-called spam, whatever, egg bags, okay? Whereby, do you want a tall, whatever? Okay, we can do that and give it to you. Okay? So now we can go shopping for a child, because it is a lifestyle choice. Okay? It's what I choose to have. It's an object, not a subject of love. So all those things, abortion, in vitro, whatever, all those kinds of things, it's a degrading of a human being to the level of an object. Prostitution. Okay? Any sane society can't legalize prostitution. Why? Because it is taking the other and using the other as an object. Whether they do it willingly or whatever, that's not the issue. The issue is whether they want to do it, they are crazy, okay? But they are a subject of love, not an object. Well, they want to do it. Okay? It's out of their free will. Well, someone can decide to go right now, this Boulder Highway, and sit right in the middle of the road. That's what I want to do. But what will happen? The police can't come and ask me, why are you here? This is where I want to be. And then they start directing traffic. Okay, he wants to be here, so you go there. They will handcuff me and take me away. Why will they respect my freedom? Okay, so a human being is a subject. You should never put anybody in a situation whereby they are used as an object. Because God willed each one of us for our own sake. And how did He will us for our own sake? How do we know that? How do I know that God willed me for my own sake? Because at conception, He created my soul. And that soul has never been anywhere, and it will never be anywhere in any other human being. God has created billions before us. We are billions. There will be probably billions after us. Each one of us is unique. We share the same nature, human nature, but our soul gives us our individuality, our uniqueness. Because that soul is unique to each and every one of us. There is no pre-existence of souls. Okay? The soul are there like in a pool, and when mother and mother come together at conception, and God says, okay, which one? And the souls go, me. No. Okay? There are no pre-existing souls. Okay? God may pick one and say, and the soul, I don't like that one. No. It is moment of creation. God creates us in our uniqueness, and He wills us into existence. We are willed into existence by God's love. That's how I know that I'm a subject, not an object. Because God willed me for my own sake. Not as an instrument for another person to use. So that's the significance of that statement right there.
So that's when He said, I knew you even before
Yes.
you were.
Yes. Because we are willed into existence by God's love. Okay? So the only creature on earth that God has willed for its own sake, and He alone, meaning man, is called to share. Okay? This is significant. Okay? Because some of you think that your dogs, have sanctifying grace. They don't. The human being alone is called to share by knowledge and love, okay, the capacity of the soul, okay, to share by knowledge and love in God's own life. No other creature in the material creation is called to this, except a human being who participates in both worlds, the spiritual and the material. So, God, that's why we say He willed us for Himself. When God creates me, what is the goal of my existence? To share by knowledge and love in God's own life. That's my destiny. That's why I am created. That's why we are here. That's the purpose of our existence. Once God wills us into existence, He is seeking covenant relationship. So we are created for covenant relationship. We are created for communion. That's why He gives us the capacity to know and love Him. So that when He invites us, we have the capacity to respond and share. So human being is so valuable in that regard. We are of tremendous value because we are capable of sharing divine life. And there's nothing greater than that. So, it was for this end that He was created. The end is to share in God's own life. That's why that goal, that end, that purpose was destroyed, okay, by Adam and Eve because they destroyed covenant relationship. They disobeyed. For it was for this end that He was created, and this is the fundamental reason for his dignity. This is the fundamental reason for our dignity. And we have always to be mindful of this. The word dignity is different from respect. I can respect a person without valuing him or her. Like diplomats, they respect each other. It doesn't mean that they are friends or they value the other. Okay? So the fundamental dignity of a human being is that God created him or her to share in his divine life. And each one of us has that capacity because each one of us has a soul. There's no human being who doesn't have a soul. It may be a bad soul, but it's there. Okay? And of course, all of us had bad souls, and that's why we need sanctification, okay, because of our sinfulness. But the dignity of a human being lies in that. So we must value each and every human being. Value, not respect. Respect falls short of value and dignity. A human being is so dignified, okay, that she is invited to participate in divine life, God's life, the Creator's life. That's why nothing should be exalted over and above a human being. There was a woman, basically, they divorced. They had 4 children. A man had 4 cars. I think maybe one for each child, I don't know. So these fancy cars and whatever. So when he came back from work, the only thing he did was polishing his cars, because that was his wife, family, everything. And so the woman said, he's married to his objects, so there's nothing for me here. His affection was for things, not another human being. Things can't reciprocate love. They can't know that you are even there. A car doesn't know that you are cleaning it. It's not that you should drive dirty cars, okay? But it doesn't know that you're even cleaning it. It can't reciprocate love. It can't know that it's being loved. A human being is capable of knowing that they're being loved. And they're capable of reciprocating that love. That is our fundamental dignity and value. And that value and dignity is the same for each and every human being. Meaning, before our God, every same value. Although some of us think that we're more valuable than others. Okay? That's where you get this idea of VIP in our social stratification. Okay? VIP. Okay? There is no VIP. Okay? There won't be any VIPs in heaven. Okay? One get for the VIPs. Okay? Our value is the same. Why? Because our status before God is the same. Whether someone is homeless or whoever they are, our status is the same. If I need air conditioning, the homeless need air conditioning.
Aren't the saints, I don't want to say more valued or extra special?
Basically, the question would be, who is a saint?
Well, I don't know exactly. Like Padre Pio.
Yeah, basically, saint is what we call, the Bible uses the word saint in different senses, okay? So believers, like us, are called saints, okay? Biblically. Those who are being sanctified, okay? United in Christ are called saints. But usually now when we refer to saints, we mean those who are confirmed in grace in heaven, okay? So they are there, okay? Their status is the same, okay? What is that status before God? It is we are children, a child. That's our status before God. Now, children, as you know, parents, they may have different roles. But a role doesn't make a child more equal than other children. Okay? When you give children at home particular roles, it doesn't mean that one children now is exalted above the others. They're just doing different roles, but their status is the same. They are children, you are parents. That's how we are before God. That's why we should never despise one another. If we really understood this well. Every human being is made in the image of God. Yes.
Why then the Bible says that Jesus loves John? He was the not the favorite, but the one that he loved.
There's what we call human love, okay? Brotherly love, okay? So that can basically take place. Doesn't mean that by loving someone you demean or despise others, okay? Remember what I said, John, probably John is called the beloved disciple. Remember that John was younger, very much younger than the others, so probably needed more guidance and things like that, okay? But that doesn't mean that Jesus, in essence, exalted him above the others, okay? So remember also when Jesus Christ offers responsibility, he gave it to Peter, okay, so that is no, and of course what we have to remember is that when God chooses a particular person for a particular purpose, John may have had his own particular mission. He doesn't, it's a mystery. It doesn't depend on human quality or whatever, okay? God is God, he can choose any instrument and use it any way he wants. But that doesn't mean that John was of a greater status, okay? He says, I call you friends, because I have made known you everything I heard from my Father. So our status before God is the same. We are all children of God. Okay? And of course, if we do as children, some children may be not pleasing to the parent, and other children may be pleasing to the parent. But that doesn't mean that if a child is not pleasing, that they have lost their status. Their disobedience can lead to dire consequences. But that doesn't mean that as long as you are their parent, their status has changed. You can call them a prodigal child.
A black sheep.
A black sheep, okay? Yeah, but they are still a sheep. Okay? Yes. Okay? So the fundamental dignity of a human being. This is a very important thing, especially for us Christians to ponder. Because what happens is that in order for us to make it easier for ourselves to kind of not take care of other people, is to dehumanize them. Like the homeless, what do? They are drug addicts. They are criminals. You don't even know who they are, but they are criminals. And so if they're drug addicts and criminals, then I may not do ABCD for them because I have labeled them. Okay? What are those people? They are illegals. So once you make the label illegal, then they are less of a human being and you can do with them whatever you will. Okay? What are those people? They are infidels. Look at the terrorists, okay? They look at us, infidels. So if they're infidels, then you can, okay? So the process of dehumanizing a child in the womb, a bunch of cells, they're not human beings. Okay? Those people, they are communists. You don't even know who they are. Okay? They come from where? They are communists. Therefore, they are worthless. That's what we do, to dehumanize the other person so that we may not respect or value who they are, their dignity. So that's why we will be surprised when Jesus says, I was hungry, but you came from Iran. And Iran had nukes. Or I was hungry or whatever. Well, you killed people, whatever. They were infidels. No, that was me. They're not infidels. So what would you say? Didn't take care of them. Why? Because they were illegal. Well, that was me. You broke the law. You'll tell Jesus you broke the law. Right? Let me in because you broke the law. Okay. So we have really to think about that. Okay? There are certain things, not that laws are not necessary, they are very necessary, otherwise we'll have chaos. Okay? They are very necessary, but we have to look at everything in terms of human dignity. That goes first. And then the rest is secondary. Let's take a break.
Yes, Father.